All right, everyone, I am back. It is Dave, the interview guy, and today's guest probably needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. And if you've ever been around the NFL or even college football, Notre Dame alum, there's probably 5 or 6 of you people out there too somewhere. All around the world, this guy is known, and, I'm going to quit blowing smoke up his butt a little bit. Today's guest is Rocky Boiman, Colts NFL linebacker, was with the Tennessee Titans. I guess that's who drafted him. Spent a little bit of time over in Philly, I do believe, or Kansas City, and every place else. He's also been a college football analyst. He's a dad. He's a husband. He's all kinds of things. And today, he's my guest. Rocky, thanks for jumping in today, buddy.
Dave, how are you, brother? Thanks for having time here. This is fun.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on, and let's jump right into it. So, football training camp has been started now for a week or so, depending on what team you follow. And, do you still feel like you walking down the aisle at Kroger or something and you're ready to tackle somebody? Do you get the urge every now and again?
It's funny you say that because I got asked that the other day. I was down at Bengals training camp just taking a look, and, my last season was 2009. So, we're going on, almost 10 years being out, and I can honestly tell you I have 0 plays in me left, absolutely 0. It's kind of like a joke amongst NFL guys. When you're retired, you say, hey, I got 4 or 5 plays still left in me, and I could say that probably even 3 or 4 years ago. When I was like 34, 35, I think I could still, maybe not play an entire game, but get out there and give me a couple months to get ready. I could probably do something, but those days are over, Dave. I pulled my hamstring jogging last week, so I think that was the final nail in the coffin for me having any delusions of getting back out on the field.
Well, I certainly understand that. After all my high-end Army days, I still every now and again have visions of jumping out of a plane and losing all my gear like Rambo and getting it on with a knife. But
don't get me wrong. I still dream about it. I still think about it at night. It's funny. Most of the only kind of recurring types of dreams I have is playing ball. I do college football analyst work for ESPN. I got a radio show here in Cincinnati, lots of wonderful things, but still the thing that I dream about is playing ball. So the mind still puts me there, but the body is non-existent in terms of that anymore.
Yeah, I understand that. I certainly tend to wake up from my dream every time I have one. So So I don't know if you get to watch any of last night's Hall of Fame game or any of the interviews that they were doing with the newest minted Hall of Famers. But a couple, 2-3 things I'd like to ask you about. One is there were definitely some flags out with the new helmet, leading with the helmet rule. I don't know how much of that you get to see or if you watched the end of the game, but
I did. I watched most of the game, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
the Ravens, I think you had 3 or 4 called against them.
Yeah, so I mean, of the examples that you saw that were flagged in real time, what's your gut feeling about how this new rule is going to play into the regular season?
I think it's going to be a problem, Dave. I really do. I think, to have this rule come down and be voted on this offseason, and really it's so nuanced. Like you ask even the top experts, and they'll try to explain it, but there's always some okay, well, except for this, you can do this, you can do that. I don't think anybody exactly knows or can fully explain the rule without some sort of, convolution to it. The problem for me is, the head is connected to your body. There's nothing you can do. There's only so much you can do to, quote unquote, get the head out of a tackle. And especially when it comes to, even protecting yourself. If you're getting ready to take a big hit, just you right there, just imagine someone's coming up and hit you. You're going to kind of crunch your neck down. You're going to stick your head out. You're going to kind of brace your spinal column like that. And that's got kind of just a natural defensive mechanism. Your head's going to kind of come forward, especially when you're taking an impact like somebody playing in the NFL is. So I think you're kind of mixing up just like some natural biological things that come natural to people and trying to teach the body to do something different. And, oh, by the way, teach them to do something different when things are happening very, very fast and at a high level. So I think it's going to cause a lot of confusion. I think it's going to be tough, too, because you're asking players to do this that have been playing a certain way their entire life. You know what I mean? And I know in a lot of respects. They've gotten the head out of the tackle and those sort of things, and that's taken a while. But this is something totally different, and I just think anytime an offensive lineman engages a defensive lineman, they lead with the head just because there's no other way to do it. I mean, think about like your favorite quarterback, your favorite team. It's the fourth quarter, and your quarterback is on the 1 yard line, and you need to punch it in for a touchdown. What's he going to do? Well, 9 times out of 10, he's going to quarterback sneak that thing. Well, there's no way to run a quarterback sneak without leading with your head. There's no way for a running back to grit it out and get that extra 2 yards he needs to score that touchdown without leading with your head. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I know that a lot of players are very confused at this point.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like I saw during the game one of the flags, the Raven safety just throwing his hands up there like I was hitting with my shoulder. What am I supposed to do? And you're right, the physiological.
Right. Well, like I said, you can lead with the shoulder, but the head is connected to the neck, which is connected to the shoulder. It's not like you can physically displace your head, tackle with the shoulder, and then put it back on. So it's got me very confused.
Yeah, I'm certainly interested in seeing how definitely the preseason, how it shakes out and what we see in the regular season. So, so I'll move on. But, as a former player, with my next question, we all know who I'm talking about, but without, putting you in a position that you feel like you're calling out another former player. But I'll just ask this. If you were to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, can you find a reason for yourself that's going to prevent you from attending that event with your family and friends or former coaches? Are you not going to go do that thing that one day in your life? Or, do you have a reason that you can think of?
No, obviously we're talking about T.O. here, and it's unprecedented for him to. You're talking about a guy who has fought tooth and nail ever since his last down in the NFL, making a case for why he should be in the Hall of Fame, and I think he should. It's not a clear-cut yes, so I think, he, of course, did some lobbying for it, and some other people did some lobbying for it, and he finally gets it. And to me, a guy whose career, as good as he was as a player, his career is defined on being a guy that was interested in one person, and that's himself. So here we are now, even at the final stage of this deal. He gets into the Hall of Fame, and what's it about, Dave? Himself. Not about his teammates, not about his family. He's going to make the spectacle and try to take some attention away from the other players, which I think the NFL, especially in the broadcast last night, did a good job of not making him the center of that deal, which I thought was good. But I don't understand the reasons. I mean, there's been rumors it's a financial thing because, going to the Hall of Fame and paying for your whole family and hotels and travel and all the banquets and stuff, from what I've heard from guys, is an expensive thing. You're talking, in the 5 digits and up in terms of price. So for a guy who's had some financial issues, could that be the reason? I don't know. Could it be, again, just a guy who one more time wants to be a spectacle? I can't understand it, but to each his own, I guess. Yeah,
I'm certain that if I get into the Hall of Fame of most of anything, I'll show up at least once. I can imagine not being there for that. So, right on. So, after football's over, and Hall of Fame weekend is upon us, and things are gonna start swinging back into the regular season football. And so, what's harder for you, trying to run down a quarterback, or now trying to wrangle 2 kids and dealing with a newborn?
Certainly. I mean, the difference when I was playing was I didn't get married until after I was playing, and as hard of a job that is, and the amount of preparation that goes into playing football at a high level, like I did for 8 seasons, that was the only thing I had to worry about. I didn't have to worry about, a wife, a kid, any other responsibilities besides, giving it my all. And for me, that I thought that's what it took. But now it's different because there's a lot of other things on my plate. There's a radio show. There's ESPN color analyst work. There's, like you said, being a good dad, being a good husband, all of that. So in a way, I sleep much less now than I did then. But it's a lot of fun. I enjoy being busy. I think us as human beings, I think we're meant to be busy. I don't think we're meant to seek leisure all the time. I think we're meant to kind of grind a little bit. There's some sort of pride factor in that. At least there is for me. So I enjoy kind of having a lot on my plate and just try to continue to do a good job.
Nice. So now that you do have children and you've been around the sport world, not just football, but other sports that have their own set of issues, regardless of what those issues are, where do you think you'll stand as your kids get older and they want to participate, or if they're able to participate at a high or professional level, do you think you're going to help guide them in that direction? Are you going to gently try to sway that away, or are you just going to stand back and say it's your call, do what you need to do?
Well, I think what you're asking is, am I going to let my kids play football? Here's the deal. I mean, I started playing football when I was 7 years old, and my last snap was when I was 30. So that's a lot of years of playing, 22, 23 years. I'm of the opinion, and I know there's risks of CTE, and there's a lot of information that's come out. I applaud that there's more information come out on how dangerous the game can be. I personally think that the game of football gives much more than it takes away. You know, I mean, I think there's more positives than there are negatives, especially at the youth level. I mean, kids that are, I mean, I've worked with, youth teams and things like that. Kids that 8, 9, 10 years old, there's the size and the speed is not to a level where there can be these big collisions. Now, should you still, protect your kid's head? Should you still strengthen their neck and things like that? Absolutely. But I guess in long story short, I'll allow my kid to play if he wants to. I may wait a little bit longer, maybe wait till he gets into junior high. But if he wants to play, I'm going to allow him to play. Because, again, I think just the things you learn from the game, the toughness aspect, both mentally and physically, you got to deal with the heat, you got to deal with the cold, you got to deal with getting knocked down, you got to get back up, you learn teamwork. There's so many positive things that the game of football brings. I mean, what's a bigger problem in this country, Dave? Is it CTE amongst kids, or is it childhood obesity? Well, it's kids that are inactive. Kids are, so you're going to cancel football and not allow kids to play football, and they're going to sit around and play video games and get fat. I think that's a far more something that worries me far more than kids getting CTE at a rampant rate. The fact of the matter is, everybody's different, and some people can get hit in the head with a freaking baseball bat and they're fine. There's no brain injury, there's no nothing. Some kids can bump their head on a curb and there's an issue. So the point is, every person is different. It's up to the parent to decide to watch their kid closely. If the kid's susceptible to something, he's getting concussions early, or he has head injuries, or his balance isn't okay, then you say, no, you're not playing football. But if he can handle those things and he loves the game, why would you deny that from him? Well, I don't understand why. I mean, there's not like we love to make blanket rule. I'll just cancel football. No, if football's not good for you, fine, but it may be good for a lot of people. Football provides opportunities for kids that have never gone to college. You got kids. Myself. I'm the first kid in my family to go to college, to have an opportunity to go to college, and football helped make that dream possible. My parents didn't have the money to pay for me to go to college, but because I played the game and loved the game and was good at it, I had an opportunity to do that. And so do many, many kids that are given so many great opportunities provided by this great game. So I defend this game. I think we all got to be smart about it, but I defend this great game of football.
Right on. What was that school you went to? Is that D2? What was that? Is that Notre Dame? What kind of?
Yeah, a little small school in some town in South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah, just a little place, right on.
Yeah.
So one more football question, and for those that's just turning in, yeah, we're all turning in. For those of you just tuning in, my guest is Rocky Boiman, former NFL player, ESPN football analyst for the college game, and a host of other things. My last question, of course, is probably a little bit newer news, and I'm sure it's got a little bit of a nuance for everybody, but with the news out of Ohio State with Urban Meyer and his current suspension and things, now that people are looking at, hey, he had some subordinate coaches that supposedly knew, and here in Cincinnati we have one of those former coaches, down at UC, Luke Fickell. So where do you think you stand with, if it's shown that Fickell or some of these other coaches knew what's going on, do you think they should have went above Urban Meyer's head to somebody else to get this other coach ousted? Or, I mean, how thin of a line do you think that is between? I don't know. I mean, that's a tough. You almost feel like I hate to use the word snitching, but where is that thin line end for you?
Yeah, it's certainly a tough issue. I think especially for me because I have a personal relationship with Urban Meyer. He recruited me actually to the University of Notre Dame. He was a special teams coach and wide receiver coach up there. So at 18 years old, he was in my house and just laid it out there. And it was one of the reasons I didn't need many because I grew up a Notre Dame fan, but he was one of those extra reasons of why I chose to go there. And I still. Every time he comes to town here in Cincinnati, we get together. And I go up and watch practice, and just with my work with college football, we talk. And so it's a tough thing for me. All I'll say is, I mean, look. First of all, I'll put it this way: if it does come out that Urban Meyer knowingly knew of domestic violence happening against this person and said nothing, then. Okay, then yes, I think he deserves to feel the punishment from that. But I stand firm in that I believe he deserves to have his voice heard. I think in this society, Dave, we always talk about we want voices heard, we want opinions out there. Okay, here's an instance where I think we need to do just that because the guy that I know, the Urban Meyer that I know, is someone who's very buttoned up. He's not flim-flam. He knows what's going on, and he does the right thing. So I think we at least should wait until we judge people, which is hard. It doesn't happen these days. Everyone is very quick to judge and condemn. And this story wasn't 2 hours old, and people are saying he's going to get fired. I mean, it's like, come on, let's take a little bit of time. I think we make mistakes with that of just being – everyone wants to be the first to comment and first to, say something about a story. But I think in this case, just like many others – I think we deserve to hear his side. Everybody is due their day in court. Everybody, I think, in our society deserves to have their voice heard. So until then, I'll wait and see what happens with that before I really make any judgment on it.
Well, you're exactly right. With this day of social media, everybody is a reporter or something, and it is certainly hard to get away from the sensationalism. And you're right. I think my biggest surprise was seeing that he was put on some type of administrative leave with just hours of this report becoming public. So it was definitely it seems like a quick knee jerk, but I'll be watching that story like everybody else, I guess. And all right, before we let Rocky go, we've got just a couple more questions. And again, thanks for all your time, buddy. It's really appreciated that you joined us. So you've mentioned a few times you're doing college football analysis on ESPN. You've been doing that now a couple, 2-3 years or more. And you also recently became a fixture in Cincinnati on talk radio in the afternoons doing your own show with a co-host. So transitioning from NFL, you got into broadcasting. Now you're into talk radio. You're even appearing on Dave the Interview Guy. I mean, come on. I don't know what.
I know, man. It just gets better and better.
That's right. But so if you can, what was that transition like, and maybe a little bit backstory about how you ended up there from, hey, I'm an NFL guy now to I'm a guy in the booth. I mean, was that something that you thought you wanted to do, or did it just kind of show up in your lap and you're like, hey, what a good idea?
Yeah, it's funny because when I was young, I never really dreamed about being an analyst or doing all that. I dreamt about playing football. I wanted to play football. I wanted it when I told my second grade teacher that I was going to go to Notre Dame. I was going to play football there, and I was going to play in the NFL. And that's every day of my life. That's what I focused on, and obviously as well as I got a pre-med degree. I focused on that stuff as well. But in terms of career, it was football. And then that's the odd thing about professional athletes is you kind of work towards one thing. You chase a dream with blinders on, and then if you're lucky, like me, you're 30 years old and you're retired, right? I mean, most guys, their average career is I think like 3.2 years or something. You got guys in their 20s that are kind of ending a phase of their life and still have literally over 2/3 of their life still yet to live, and trying to figure out what they want to do with that time. And every player does it. I don't care how well prepared you are for it. It still hits players hard on, what the hell am I going to do with the rest of my life here? And so, I mean, for me, I took an opportunity to just try a bunch of things. I did some business things. I actually opened up a training academy that I enjoyed and ran well for about 6 years. I did some media stuff. I did a bunch of things, and I got involved in politics. I was an elected official for 3 years. I was a trustee of the second largest township in Ohio, here, Green Township. So I did that. But like broadcasting kind of just kept pulling me back in. Every time I tried to almost kind of oh, maybe that's not going to work, something would pull me back into it. And I mean, honestly, Dave, I worked the first 2 years of my quote-unquote broadcasting career for no money. I mean, I didn't make a nickel. I did, a local show here on Channel 5, the Friday Night Blitz, which I'm sure you know. I did that with guy George Vogel and Ken Brew, right? Just volunteered my time. I did a post-game show on Channel 12 with Brad Johansson. Again, didn't get paid a nickel. Called some St. X games for my high school was St. Xavier High School here in Cincinnati. Called some of those games. It just kind of did whatever. I was just like, man, just let me involved. The answer is always yes. Let me come on. Let me do something. You don't got to pay me anything. And then slowly things started to happen. One of my kind of an interesting story. One of my big breaks was the NFL offers these second career opportunities, right? They don't want guys retiring and doing nothing. So they offer a bunch of different ones. For me, there was one they did called the NFL Broadcast Boot Camp. And a bunch of former players apply. I think they took 26 guys. And you go up to NFL Films up there in Jersey. And for the whole week, you learn every aspect of broadcasting, right? Sideline reporting. You learn analysts. You learn interviews, studio work. And it's all the best of the best. It's like Kirk Menefee. It's Ron Jaworski. It's all these people that are kind of, putting this clinic on. Well, anyway, long story short, at the end of the week, they chose one person to get to an opportunity to fly to England and do some studio work with Sky Network. And I got selected. So that was kind of my break. I flew over there, did some studio work, got some resume tape, and I'll never forget when I came back home to America, it was 2 days later, I got a call from this British guy. And I'll never forget, this British voice said, hey, Rocky, we saw your work with Sky there. We were seeing if you wanted to do the radio call for the BBC radio for the Chiefs-Packers game this Sunday. And I was like, you mean the NFL? He's like, yeah, like the Chiefs and the Packers. I was like, oh, of course I will. It was unbelievable. And so I went out there and did that. And just from there, man, I just kind of slowly kept grinding. I called games on ESPN3, the internet, basically internet, for I guess almost 3 years, a little over 3 years. So I just slowly kind of just kept on grinding away at it. And these last 3 years, I've been on big network games, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Penn State, some big games. So it's been a journey, man. I'm proud of the fact that I've been able to just work hard through it. And, look, I was a good player, but I wasn't a Heisman winner. I didn't play in a bunch of Pro Bowls. Opportunities for those guys happen quickly. And for guys like me, it's a much, much harder road. But I'm happy that I was able to kind of, persevere through all that, and things are working out pretty well now.
Nice, and you've actually in a lot of ways already answered my last question for you. But for those who are student athletes, maybe those who might find themselves leaving college a little early before they finish a degree to pursue pro opportunities in whatever sport, or for those athletes who actually finish college but still go to the pros, what type of advice do you have for those athletes as far as prepping and knowing that your time ends in the athletic world and you have to have something to fall back on? So just what advice do you have for those guys?
Right. It's interesting you say that, because I think the stock answer you get from a lot of athletes, when you get in the NFL, start thinking about other things you like and other businesses you want to maybe try to get involved in the off season, get an internship here. I don't know. My advice, maybe I'm wrong, but my advice is different. My advice is, damn it, you play and you focus on as long a career as you possibly can in the NFL. Now, you think about things, you think about other interests, you educate yourself, you read in the off season, but I think the level of this game requires most people to give it their full attention, right? So I think you kind of burn it at both ends, burn the candle at both ends, focus on your NFL career, think about your other interests, so when it happens, you're not totally shocked. But I guess personally, Dave, I've seen guys, I started a restaurant, I started this, and before you know it, they're missing lifting, or their focus is in other places when the NFL requires your utmost attention. So I guess that my advice would be, think about those things. You can continue to educate yourself, but outside of that, I'd focus on that NFL career as long as possible, because if you can withstand and have a nice career and play 4, 5, 6, 8 plus years, financially you're going to set yourself up in a position where you'll be able to do all of those other things, plus still have the kind of security in your back pocket that God, only the NFL can provide. Right
on. Well, it's been a great time with you today, buddy. I appreciate that you took time out of your life and your day and away from these two young babies that you've got going on in your life to spend time with us. So thank you so much. And for all of you who missed the early part of this, make sure that you hit the rewind button and go back and check out what Rocky had to say about that thing called the NFL. So, Rocky Boiman, we appreciate your time, buddy. Thank you.
Dave, thanks so much, buddy. I always enjoy talking with you.
All right, and for the rest of you, as always, tune in to Dave the IT Guy, new episodes every Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Until next week, thanks to everyone.